their channel having a lot of site. So that time they called the Indus civilization. But now we have the parallel in Saraswati also. So then we try to call the Indus-Saraswati civilization. Why it's important? If you see the development, particularly the Saraswati Valley, we have the gradual development of culture. Rather in the Indus region, this is the early one, like the Birana. We have around 7000 BCE. Like in Kunal, we have around 6000 BCE. And also the Rakhigadi, we have the 6000 BCE. And then Kalibanga, Binjor, etc., having around 5000 BCE. And then gradual development of the culture, particularly the early farming to late mature phase of Harappan civilization. The whole narrative is mentioned or created at the Western scholars that the Aryan invasion or later on Aryan migration. So earlier it was Aryan invasion, but now they try to call the Aryan migration of different wave of Aryan migration. So if you see the expansion of Harappan civilization right from the Afghanistan to the Kashmir and also the UP, the large huge area of this settlement and uniformity of the settlement, how can an outsider can come and invade the large settlement which has its own identity and so much of developed form of the culture. So that actually that entire narrative is not valid nowadays. Nowadays we are using Sindhu-Saraswati civilization because in after independence most of the important site is in Pakistan, in fact, but the rigorous effort by the Indian archaeologists, we explore the area, the dried bed of Ghaggar Hakra channel, which is called Saraswati, old bed of Saraswati, that is mentioned in the early map also, the Saraswati of that particular channel. And along with that channel, there is more than 1000 sites reported along with that channel of dried bed of Saraswati, and also their tributaries like Chautang, the earlier that is Diswatwati, along with the Saraswati, and then they meet together in near Kalibanga, Suratgarh. The site, particularly the site like Rakhigadi, which is larger than any of the other site in terms of the expansion or occupying the land of that area, and also the Kalibanga and the Kutch region, the Dhaulavira. These sites are very, very important as the earlier the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro and Ganveriwala at the Pakistan area. Ganveriwala is also near the Saraswati. So the major site at this moment, in particularly in the Saraswati Valley itself. Earlier, that is because the Indus and their channel having a lot of site. So that time they called the Indus civilization. But now we have the parallel in Saraswati also. So then we try to call the Indus-Saraswati civilization. Why it's important? If you see the development, particularly the Saraswati Valley, we have the gradual development of culture. Rather in the Indus region, this is the early one, like the Birana. We have around 7000 BCE. Like in Kunal, we have around 6000 BCE. and also the Rakhigadi we have the 6000 BCE, and then Kalibanga, Binjore, etc. having around 5000 BCE, and then gradual development of the culture, particularly the early farming to late mature phase of Harappan civilization, or we can say the Indus-Saraswati civilization. That given us the lot of insight of development of gradual development of culture. So that is the reason it's a befitting to say that Indus-Saraswati civilization.
So it means you are suggesting that the Vedic people and the Saraswati people are the same, because Saraswati is the river discussed in the Rig Veda, and the Drishadwati is another river mentioned in Rig Veda. In that case, you are suggesting that the Vedic people are the same stock, or the same people of the Harappan, or the civilization lived or flourished in that region.
Yeah. That's a very interesting understanding that a lot of other like Professor B.V. Lal, Bhagwan Sahai, and also R.S. Beast, and a lot of other scholars also suggested that the Harappan civilization, particularly in the Saraswati and their tributaries, the same stock of people which is mentioned in the Vedas. How can we understand that they are the same people? If you see the Rig Vedic geography and also the Harappan culture geography, in particularly dried bed of Saraswati, the geographical understanding is very same. There is no change in geographical understanding. And after the Harappan civilization, none other than any of the civilization having the parallel understanding of the Veda, as well as the archaeological remains found in that particular geographical location. That clear suggesting that the Vedic stock, Vedic people, or the people residing particularly in the Saraswati Valley, so-called Harappan civilization, is the same. So there is no change at all. If you see the material culture found in either in the Rakhigadi or Kalibanga or Binjore, also suggest a very close affiliation which is mentioned in the Rig Veda.
So here the problem is that we are taught that the Vedic people, they came from outside of India, most probably from steppes, and they were Aryans, and they invaded India somewhere in 1500 BCE or 1200 BCE. There are different timelines given. So they were invaded India at one point of time, or they were the invaders. And as an archaeologist, you have excavated in Sanauli, in the present Uttar Pradesh site, from where you got a live chariot. And in chariot, the horses are horse-driven chariot. But what we have learned from our historical texts is that horse was not introduced to India before the advent of the Aryan invaders, or the invaders from the steppes. So what is your
actually the whole narrative is mentioned or created at the Western scholars that the Aryan invasion or later on Aryan migration. So earlier it was Aryan invasion, but now they try to call the Aryan migration of different wave of Aryan migration. So if you see the expansion of Harappan civilization right from the Afghanistan to the Kashmir and also the UP, the large huge area of this settlement and uniformity of the settlement. How can an outsider can come and invade the large settlement which has its own identity and so much of developed form of the culture. So that actually that entire narrative is not valid nowadays. After excavation of Sanauli, we understand that everything, the chariot, etc., is there in around 2000 BCE, or you can say the 1800 to 2000 BCE, along with all those material like the weapons, the sword, helmet, whip, the chariot, and shield, etc. Everything there in our culture, in Upper Ganga Yamuna Doab, as well as the Harappan culture also. Some of the depiction of shield that is there in the Harappan seal, and also so that shows that we have the knowledge of all those things here itself, indigenous, in as early as 2500 BCE to later on. So why we don't have the chariot in excavation? Because we know the Indian environment is not supporting to preserve the timber architecture or wooden architecture anywhere. So that is the reason we are getting the brick architecture, etc., but not any remains of timber. So it's a difficult. But in Sanauli excavation, what happened, because it's a royal chariot that has the inlay of copper, and also the copper sheathing all around the other wooden structures. So that given us the whole idea of the structure of the chariot, and also the total form of the chariot, that clearly indicate that even before 1800 BCE, we have the knowledge of chariot here itself, even in Indus Valley civilization. But we got popularly in the cart, the toy cart in in Indus Valley civilization. But we understand that two-wheel technology we have in as early as in 3000 BCE, the two-wheel balancing technology. So there is not much technological change in the chariot and the cart. So only change of the chassis, the square chassis in the cart, or the rectangular chassis in the cart, but the D-shaped chassis in the chariot. So only change in technologically this one, and later on the spoke, development of spoke also. So this clearly shows whatever mentioned in the Vedas, we have the evidence in 2000 or even earlier than that, in either in the Saraswati or the river mentioned in the Rig Veda, the other river like Ganga, Yamuna, and Apaya, and other river of tributaries also. So that is mentioned in the Rig Veda, but more or less the maximum time, more than 70 or 72, that Saraswati river mentioned, because the Saraswati is the homeland of the Vedic people. So that is the reason Saraswati mentioned. And then another misconception of the Rig Veda or the Vedic, they are in the rural settlement. Like we in the textbook also we have hermitas and also the cattle herders, etc., in the basically Rig Vedic people. But if you see the Vedic mathematics, Vedic town planning, or the urban kind of settlement and fabric, and also the Vedic rituals, etc., that is clearly shows that is not only the rural settlement, but also having the urban fabric or urban settlement also in the Rig Vedic time itself. So if you compare with the Harappan culture, the 5% or a little more or less having the urban fabric, but rest of the is the rural settlement. So clearly understood, everything which is mentioned in the Rig Veda can be correlated with the archaeological finding, like the Yagyavedi. We got the evidence at Rakhigadi, we got the evidence at Kalibanga, we got evidence at Binjore of fire altars, and also the mother goddesses, and also Shivalinga in Kalibanga. So that very clearly denote the rituals which is mentioned in the Rig Veda. We have the parallels in the Harappan culture. The Sanauli finding is really important to understood the two things. One is the geographical region of the Indus-Saraswati region, and also the Ganga Yamuna Doab region. So having the parallel development of the culture. But if you see the DNA analysis, that clearly shows the early migration of the early Harappan era, having the lot of different settlement in many other places also. So migrations or movement, we can say, happen in the Saraswati Valley to the other area also. Like we have the very good evidence in Rakhigadi right from 6000 BCE to the gradual development. That clearly shows the early fragmentation or early settlement of the many other river valley also.
Basically, as an archaeologist, you have looked to various parts of the country, and you have also excavated in various Indus or Harappan sites and other sites also. So, do you see any cultural continuity from the earlier days to till the day? And what is your opinion about the genetical connect of Indian people? So, because a lot of genetical debates are happening nowadays, and in these excavations also, the Indian archaeologists are doing some kind of genetical studies to understand the genetical lineage of Indian people. So, what is your insights about that?
Actually, it's a really very at this moment we have very less evidence of early genome or early genetics or DNA from the site. Only the Rakhigadi revealed one DNA, and Sanauli revealed two DNA, and we are progressing on the ancient DNA. Because in Indian environment it's a very difficult to get the DNA of the skeleton of particularly in burial of many of site. But yes, whatever we have at this moment, the DNA, Rakhigadi DNA is matching with Sanauli DNA also. So that shows the basic DNA form is not changed, and that is indigenous one with the early farming community of here itself. So now a lot of DNA analysis is going on, and may we got the more insight of DNA of the modern DNA of across the country. And actually, we one thing we have to be very clear: the culture in DNA is entirely different thing. Culture is depend on the local ecology, local environment, local geography. But the DNA may be mutate in various reasons. So DNA study is entirely different from the cultural study. The reason to reason the culture is vary because the local use of the material, local use of environment, and also little bit of mutation. Because nowadays there is lot of mutation with the people of other places also. So that may be having lot of mutations in that. For example, in the early days also around 2000 or even earlier than that, 2500 BCE, we have a lot of evidence at Mesopotamia, Bahrain, and Oman also. The Harappan people were there in that settlement. So how can the mutation is not happen? So that mutation maybe happen in very early days also of other with the other cultures also. Because of the trade contact, because of the settlement and mixing the culture together. But it's a very clear that the early DNA, particularly in the Rakhi Gadi, and that suggests that this is the indigenous development of the culture here itself.
One last question. So, what about the religion of Harappan people? What is there any connect between the present day rituals and practices and the religious practices and the Harappan ritualistic practices?
Yes. If you see the Harappan ritualistic practice, we got the fire altars, we got a large quantity of mother goddesses, and also some male figurines also. Apart from that, you can see in the seals, there is lot of depiction in the seals of different kind of animal, and also some rituals all around the animal, sacrificial sacrificing some animal in the people tree, and then in front of mother goddesses, etc. And also the deity like three-headed deity, etc. That also denotes some ritualistic practice at that point of time, particularly in the Harappan. But in the larger concept, if you see the burial practice, because burial is the ritual, last ritual and last rite of the people, they are putting the lot of offering in the burial. Particularly, and that shows the afterlife belief in the people. The same belief you have in present day also. Okay, even the change of the burial to cremation, or maybe at that time you have the cremation also in the parallel, because we are getting the burial only 10 to 20% in total demography at the site. So that, and also the more site like the rural or a smaller site, we don't have the burial. So that clearly shows the practice at the time is multiple practice in the. But the offering like in the last ritual, that's a continued till date, only change that the nowadays we are offering to the other form like the court, etc. For the afterlife itself. So the continuity in the material culture, and then ritualistic belief, and then belief in the life itself is a very continuity you can see in the present day also, and across the country. That's a very interesting one. And also like the yogic figure, you can see a lot of terracotta denoting the yogas, etc. The namaste poses, and also the use of vermilion in one of the terracotta. That, and one recently we got in Rakhi Gadi one of the skeleton, the broken bangles, shell bangles at the header site of the male figure. So that also clearly denote whatever we are in today belief, the similar belief may be there in that time. So these are the some insight also having in material culture found in the excavation.